Alright, we're going to go over ultralight, low-cost DIY tree saddle making. So, first thing, if you can speed up the video to 2 times, you'll learn just as much in half the time. Next, feet off the ground, stitch strength demonstration. You can see there's only 3 rows of stitching holding my body weight. And I know that's enough based on this equation here. So, take the stitches per inch, which you set on your machine, times the pound test of the thread, times 1.5 loop stitch ratio. That gives you the pounds of strength per inch stitching. So if I have 8-pound test thread, which I just tested with this fishing scale by tying a Palomar knot on here, times 1.5 times 9 stitches per inch, get 108 pounds of strength per inch of sewing. So that means with the 3 rows of stitches here, got 300 pounds of strength holding up my 220 pounds. Now I tried 2 rows and that wasn't enough, it broke. So the math works out. And if you want to sew your own saddle, you want to use a safety factor of at least 5 to hold your body weight to support your life. So you're going to want at least 1,000 pounds if you're 200 pounds. So that's going to need 9.2 inches of sewing to match that strength. So if you're using 2-inch webbing and you do a box X like this, that'll give you 12.5 inches of stitching, which will be plenty. So if you connect your webbing like this with a box X, that's enough, and then stitch around the perimeters, that'll give you extra strength. Other things you can do, use a W pattern. Seen on a lot of commercial tree stand harnesses. Or bar tacks. Careful with those. If you don't do enough though, it can break. If you do too much, you can weaken the webbing will break. Just remember, if you don't do enough and the first bar tack breaks, the next one's probably going to break unless you're doing it properly and the load is evenly distributed. So, taking inspiration from the old sit drag I've used for a couple of years, I knew I wanted it wider, and I delayed it because I sewed this all by hand on here, is old trusty, but I figured I'd do it better. So, ignore the webbing, that's just for the demonstration. You're going to have your tether. That's going to be tied with a good knot, like a bowline or a figure 8. You're gonna wrap around the tree. Then I'm going to my rope man 2. I'm using a rope man 2 so I can do 8mm rope here. It's plenty strong, fall rated, 3,500 pound strength. Don't need any bulky 11mm or 12mm. This is plenty good. And then non-locking carabiner, because I'm always clipped in 2 ways. And this is going to be a pressic right on my lifeline, clipped into a load-bearing belt, sewn in to my tree saddle. So that way, if this were to come unclipped, or if you're making your own and your stitching were to somehow fail, then you would be supported. For my bridge, 7/64 SAM steel, made a whoopee sling with it. That way I have adjustability in the length. And carabiner here so I can unclip it, use it as a alignment belt to cross around tree branches. And this is a Dutch carabiner rated over 1,000 pounds. So no reason for it to be stronger, too much stronger than the whoopee sling material, because it's just excessive. The point is ultralight, DIY, low cost. Put a dog bone here, am steel, that way I can girth hitch around the tree saddle. That way I can prevent it from sliding up and down, or manually slide it down to get more tension down here, or manually slide it up to get more tension up here. And then if you want, you can do a heavier duty belt and harness. Just get yourself some 3,000 pound climb rated webbing, 2-meter nylon, tie a couple water knots, make a loop for a carabiner. That way your yoke buckle will be tied in. And you can still adjust this side if you want. Then if you want heavy duty leg loops, all you gotta do is tie 1 water knot, step in it, reach down, grab both, pull them up between your legs, and then all you gotta do is clip both of those in your carabiner, just like that. And then you have a fully functioning climb rated harness, essentially. And that will definitely protect you from any falls. And what I've done is just sewn in leg loops onto my tree saddle. And I have sat in it a couple times now. It's enough to support my weight. Definitely more comfortable than the sit drag because it is wider, and definitely I don't need the excess of 6,000 pound webbing straps when my rope only holds 3,000 pounds or 3,500. So the point is ultralight, do it yourself, go minimal, don't pay money for all the expensive offerings out there that are really just collaborations of other people's ideas anyway. Just go for it yourself, don't be afraid. All the math is here. If you need to trust a little more in your stitching. But again, don't put your life just on one thing. Always have that backup method to tie yourself in.